Welcome to the Orange Flag Podcast. War has been declared, but first, a little more Le Mans. I'm Austin.
I'm Nicole. Aries isn't here because he's on vacation. But yes, a little more Le Mans. The big conversation that I feel like popped up is, like, does Toyota now have a legitimate overall win? Were any of their previous wins illegitimate? Like, I get it, people like to dunk on successful teams, but it's just like, guys, they still won, like, during the LMP1 era.
Ew.
Just because they won when there weren't a lot of teams there, like, post Audi, post Porsche, doesn't mean that they weren't legitimate wins. I just think that's kind of like a silly narrative, and honestly, it makes people like, you cannot be out there, just Ferrari fans, for example, saying like Toyota never had legitimate wins when your recent wins were all heavily BOP impacted. Like, yes, there were other cars in the class, but they were a lap down, 2 laps down. Is that any more legitimate than just running in an empty class? I don't know. It's just silly.
It's like applying asterisks next to every single win, and it's like, how many loopholes are you going to find to like apply an asterisk to a win?
Yeah, it's silly to me. And then there was an article that came out in Sports Car 365, which I am about 99% sure was just the author twisting the words of Toyota's, like, director of motorsports, but basically saying that they're considering pulling out for the 2030 rigs. No one else has reported that. Daily Sports Car hasn't reported it. This Week in Sports Cars hasn't reported it. Like, any of the, like, extremely legitimate publications haven't reported it. And to me, it reads like, oh, we're so frustrated with the fact that we can't do all-wheel drive hybrids or four-wheel drive hybrids. That would have made us a lot happier if we could, but we can't, and it's going to cost us so much money to develop a new hybrid system. It's really going to impact our really cool new hydrogen car that we're trying to get up and running. Like, that's the way it read to me. And I don't know. I think that was the typical sensationalist stuff that you get from that publication.
Yeah, I feel like it's with Toyota, it's give something to get something is kind of what it feels like. You gotta give the hydrogen car to get into the new hybrid with the new regs. So that's just how it works out sometimes. I think at the end of the day, it felt like the story was just like twisting words to create this narrative to like create us.
Yeah, I do think that Toyota has the strongest platform of all the LMH cars to say, hey, we really don't like the way that these regs were announced. Can we redevelop them a little bit? I don't know, even if they agreed to like a spec front wheel hybrid system or something. Because they do have that hydrogen program that the ACO really wants to get off the ground, and they are the only team that has bought into that new platform. And, there's just no way that Toyota is gonna pull out of the top class, pull out of the ability to contest for overall wins to run basically an expanded Garage 56 entry, because that is what hydrogen is right now. And even after that, all it's going to do is be an entry in between Hypercar and LMP2. Those cars are not going to genuinely contest for overall wins. I'm sorry, but they're not. Yeah, down the road, eventually, maybe it'll all switch over to being hydrogen, and that will be the top class. But right now, the hydrogen cars are not going to be contesting for an overall win. So why would you get rid of your hypercar for the hydrogen car? It just doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't.
And then, as we said last week, war has been declared between Rory from Rory Talks Motorsport and Earl Bamber. There is maybe, possibly, pending delivery merch for Watkins Glen about said war. I don't know. It may get here, it may not. But everyone, please follow Earl Bamber on Instagram.
Yes.
Just Earl Bamber on Instagram, so that we can get Rory to Petite. We need Earl to get to 50,000 followers, and then he will bring Rory to Petite. And this absolutely blew up.
Yes.
Like, this was just kind of a joke, and like, Rory told me, he's like, yeah, I'm just gonna like play around with this. This is just funny. And it absolutely blew up.
It breached containment.
Well, no, I don't know that I'd say that, because it hasn't gone beyond sports car. Like, it hasn't gone beyond Rory's typical audience, I don't think. I don't remember seeing any like F1 or IndyCar or anything teams, but it just, every single account, like major account on sports car Instagram, got involved. Cadillac's, sports car account got involved. Whelen Racing got involved. Saying that they're going to make sure also that Earl's promise is carried out. And then on Sunday, I think, Saturday, one of those days, this weekend, Rory did an Instagram live, and I was in that for the whole of it, but it was quite funny. Whelen admin popped in, so the Whelen account was in there for a minute. Genesis sports car team, that account popped in for a minute. Earl popped in for a second, like literally a second. He said hi and then left again. But the real stars of Rory's Instagram Live were Jack Aiken and his partner Alex. They absolutely killed it in this Instagram Live. They were actively commenting, they were actively engaging in the banter. I don't even remember how it came up, but at one point they were talking about vines, and most of the people were too young to remember Vine.
What do you mean?
I am no. I feel like there is.
What do you mean?
Do you genuinely remember Vine, or do you remember the cultural impact post Vine shutting down?
No, I remember Vine. Did you have
an account on Vine?
I had an account and I made
when you
Vines.
were 6?
No. Vine still existed when I was in middle school.
Okay, so when you were 10, cool. But my point is that a lot of people in there were a little too young for Vine, so that resulted in Jack kind of being called old, which was funny, because Jack isn't really that old.
I was gonna say he's not.
But no, I mean, the whole live was just hilarious, and it never was massive. I think maybe at one point it had 20 people in it, so it was very interactive. People were sending in questions for Rory was answering them, the chat was really active. It was just a lot of fun. Everybody tell Rory he has to do another one of those, because that will be extra fun. I actually don't know what the live count is right now, because as we remember, this all started because Rory wanted to overtake Earl in followers. And then Earl said if he got to 50,000 followers, he would bring Jack to Petite. So Rory currently is at 36.9 thousand followers.
Earl's at 46.2
Nice.
thousand.
Yeah, so Earl is like his follower count is slowing down. People do need to follow Earl so that he can, get to 50 because that's still a lot of followers he has to gain, Like
Yeah, it's basically 5K, roughly.
4K?
4, but like, I
Yeah,
wanted a nice number.
yeah, 4,000 is still a pretty high amount. So if this slows down, then Rory might not get to Petite. And let's see. Watkins Glen, the BOP was released last week, like on Thursday or something. And Aston now has a minimum weight that is below the minimum weight. So, like, the minimum weight for the hypercar / GTP regulations is 1,030 kilograms. That's just like the stated minimum weight, the same way the stated maximum weight is 1,100 kilograms. So, like, they're now running or will run for Watkins at 1,020 kilograms, which, I mean, I guess that could make them a little more competitive. So now they have less than minimum weight and still maximum power. We'll see if that helps, We could end up with that 900 kilogram hypercar that everybody has been wanting since these hypercar GTP rigs came into effect. I don't know what the actual minimum weight that Aston can physically run is.
Yeah.
Whatever that is, the car will probably end up there. Because if they're not competitive at Watkins, they're going to have to drop the weight again.
And yeah, it was... When I saw this come out, I was like, is this a typo?
Yeah, I think everybody thought it was a typo, and then there was no correction, and everybody reported that it was a new minimum weight. But, yeah. I mean, I think this is a better option than kicking Aston out, which is what I've been advocating. Like, if they can't be competitive with the BOP set as favorably as possible for them, they can't be in the series. But if you're going to just adjust the BOP so that the minimum weight is even more minimum, okay, cool. Yeah. Let them run at 1020, let them run at 1010, let them run at 975, like whatever you want to let them run at. If it's going to create competitiveness with that car and prevent them from having to pull out of the series, like, okay. I am very curious how they are going to adapt to the 2030 regs, because you can't carry anything over, and they are using a complete car. They're not using a chassis and, like an off-the-shelf chassis or a bespoke chassis and they're using a car. You can go out and buy the majority of that car. Like, it is based on a road car. So what are they going to do to adapt to the 2030 regs? They will have to design a completely new car, which, I mean, who knows what that car is going to be? Like, it's going to have to be completely different than the current car. Far more different than the current car, I would say, than any of the other cars are going to be.
Yeah.
I think that whatever replaces the 499P is going to be more 499P-like than whatever replaces the Valkyrie is going to be Valkyrie,
Yeah, and that's just purely because of how the regs are. So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, and then I guess back to BOP for Watkins. Proportionally, Porsche 2026, so the PPM cars, got the biggest cut. If you look at how much lighter they are than they were in whatever the last race I was at was, Detroit, they are a lot lighter than they were at Detroit than any of the other cars are. Everybody's lighter than they were at Detroit, but Porsche are a lot lighter than they were at Detroit. So that should be interesting to see. I still don't expect that, like, true competitiveness like they had at Daytona and Sebring. I think that, best case scenario is going to be a podium. So, unless, luck comes into it, if they're able to do some crazy strategy stuff. I mean, we're able to see what they were able to do with strategy with the 6 car at Detroit in a race that has a single pit stop. They were very close to coming out of that single pit stop in P2. Had they stopped 1 lap earlier, they would have come out of that pit stop in P2. And that's a race where there's almost no margin for error.
Yeah.
With strategy, as opposed to a 6-hour race where there's a lot more you can do with strategy. So that will be interesting to see. The strategy team always trusts them, always trust that they can pull off what they can, but it's still an uphill battle for PPM.
Yeah. Speaking of Watkins, there's been a couple of lineup changes because Watkins is happening at the same time as Spa 24 Hours. So Inception is having Jackson Evans join for Watkins, which I'm excited about. I'm still getting used to
when
being in a
Ferrari. When are they announcing him as a Ferrari factory driver, quite frankly? Like, he's already been cut from Porsche's lineup. I understand why they didn't for this year, because they announced their factory squad before Porsche did, so he was still contracted with Porsche at the time Ferrari announced any of their drivers, but, I assume next year he will be on their roster.
Oh, I hope so. And I'd actually be surprised if he wasn't.
Yeah, same. Truly.
So, I was excited by that news. And then the other kind of one that has been announced of changes is Manthey. Basically has different lineups in both cars.
Full 2018 Pink Pig lineup is going to be at Watkins.
So...
Yes, I will be bringing every single Pink Pig item I have, because I did not think I was going to see Michael Christensen this year.
Literally, the news got announced that Michael Christensen was in the Grello, and I instantly sent it to you, and I was like, you can bring all your Pink Pig stuff now.
So look, I'm actually really upset that it's at this race that, is one of my very few flyaway races this year, because I can't bring my winning Grello that him and Kevin won Nürburgring in, because it's a 118 car, and I just cannot bring that with me. That is too big to bring around the track. It's too big. I would rather get my Pink Pig stuff signed. I assume Michael Christensen is not going to fade off into irrelevance after this year, so,
please don't.
I can still attempt to get him to sign stuff. But yeah, the hat is coming with me, the tiny guys are coming with me, the car that goes with the tiny guys are coming with me. I feel really bad for Michael, because he's gonna have to sign more stuff than Kevin and Larry. Kevin and Larry haven't signed this hat yet. This hat is completely unsigned, just because I keep on forgetting to bring it to races. But yeah, I am very, very excited for that, and for all 3 of them to be at a race weekend together this year. As if they weren't at COTA last year and at COTA 2 years ago, where my Pink Pig little car, my whatever it is, 143 car, I have forgotten to bring that to every race where I could ever feasibly get Kevin, Larry, and Michael to sign it. But it is already packed for this race.
Yeah.
So I will not forget it. Because I had it with me in Detroit, but then I got, like, the baguette and the McLary signed instead. So I was like, yeah, I'm gonna not have them sign normal things if I can avoid it. So,
Yeah.
like, if I have something ridiculous for them to sign, I will choose the ridiculous item. But yeah, no, this is just a normal item week.
Yes.
Pink Pig stuff.
Yes. The other...
Me and everybody else are gonna have Pink Pig stuff for Michael Christensen to sign.
Yeah. Probably.
Yeah.
The one person in the Grello that I am very excited for is Luke Hartog is also going to be in the Grello. It's his Grello debut, but also his IMSA debut, and in my eyes, it's just been a matter of time until it was his IMSA debut. I think it's really cool that it gets to be in the Grello, though.
Yeah. I could see him saying that he would have preferred it be one of the European Grellos.
Yeah.
But, you know, like, I think that to everybody, like, yes, is this the Grello? Yes. Is it still being run by Manti? Yes. Are most of the people working on the 911 car in IMSA Manti people that, like, would work, like, there are people that worked on this car
Yes.
that work on the Grello and IMSA. There are people that were on Kevin's car at the Nürburgring that work in IMSA. But I think everyone is still looking at it as, like, not the real Grello, you know?
Yeah.
And
but I also just, of all the cars...
It's still the Grello, you know?
It's still the Grello, and also of all the, like, IMSA Porsches he could be in, I feel like being in the IMSA Grello is still, at least in my eyes, like, one of the highest ones.
Yeah, I mean, the obviously, the two GTD Pro cars are Rexy and the Grello, and
yeah.
Rexy doesn't have any openings, so,
exactly.
you know, like, those are the two essentially Porsche factory-supported 911s. The other ones, like, even though the 912, Ryan Hardwick's, Manti car is a Manti car, it definitely has less Porsche support, like, factory-wise.
Yeah.
Because it is a GTD normal. Same thing with Wright. You know, they have less factory support because they're a GTD normal. So that's just kind of expected. RS1, I think people forget exists. So
yeah.
Like, when's the last time we mentioned that RS1 exists?
I feel like we haven't, and I feel like me and you have literally been at Sebring. We saw RS1 go by, and we were like, oh yeah, they are here.
Yeah. So, like, that's, you know, that says it all right there. You know, this is, I would say, probably the premier 911, or one of the two premier 911s to be in. So, very exciting. But yeah, yes. I mean, I'm sure any Porsche driver would rather debut in the Grello. At the Nürburgring.
Yes, but I feel like
not even saying options, at the 24, just like when Manti runs at the Nürburgring, that is the 911 to be in if you're a Porsche driver. I would think.
Yeah, but I still think it's cool. The other one
cool.
is you get the WEC champions back together because Leitz is going to be in that car. So that's going to be fun. I always kind of assumed if there was any, like, conflicts with schedules, Leitz was going to be the one that would fill in that car. So.
Yeah, I mean, Richard Leitz is still one of the best 911 drivers out there. So,
yeah. And just also, he's been with those two guys like multiple
Right.
times. He was with them for Daytona. Like
Right.
Guven was with Grello for Daytona, but he's doing Spa, so he can't be the replacement.
Right.
So like it just
I think he would have
makes
been
logical
the
sense.
logical one if
Yeah.
he wasn't doing Spa, like without a
Exactly.
doubt.
So I wasn't surprised that Leeds was like picked for this at all. And then kind of the last one is more on the Spa side of things. Fred Makovicky is filling in for Lauren Heinrich in that Spa car because Lauren will be doing Watkins Glen. So it's going to be Guven, Matt Campbell, and Makovicky in that car for Spa.
I don't know that there's a single like person that is capable of driving a Porsche that is not racing this weekend. It is like, if you are a Porsche fan, you are getting drowned with Porsche drivers racing this weekend. It is absolutely crazy.
Yeah, I will say I was excited when Makovicky was announced to be Lauren's replacement because Matt and him were teammates in WEC. And now you have all of the old five racing this weekend.
They've been teammates in IMSA, they've been teammates in WEC, they have a long history together. And I think that Fred, my only concern with Fred is, has he even driven the Evo car? Everybody said the Evo car is substantially different. Every single, 911 specialist has said the Evo car is significantly different.
Yeah, so when Fred was announced, my first thought was like, oh, cool. And then my second thought was, has Fred even driven this version of the car? Because I don't think he has.
Because he's not with Porsche in any way, shape, or form anymore.
Nope.
And I think that shows how deep they're having to dig to get people to drive cars, that they're taking, somebody that is not on their roster and hasn't been on their roster for a minute, and he left Porsche at the end of 2024. So,
Yeah.
I do have him in my stack.
Yeah, in my head, I was like, oh, they could have gotten Jam. But no, Jam is doing bronze. He's being a bronze.
Jam is the pro in a bronze car, which is really interesting.
Yeah.
Michelle Gadding is also a pro in a bronze car, which I'm a little surprised they didn't just screw that car over and pull her, because she is a Porsche factory driver. She's not a works driver. She's not, Matt's level, Kevin's level, Nico Muller's level, all of those guys. She is on that next tier down, the contract drivers. And it's just really surprising to me, quite frankly, that they didn't pull her out of that car. And say, hey, Antares, you can get who you can get. Stick Fred in that car, because Michelle is on payroll. Because that is a car that has Porsche factory drivers in it. You would think they would replace Lauren with another Porsche factory driver, and they just didn't. And I get it, because they are all technically customer cars. That's just kind of how SRO works. These aren't officially, it's not the Porsche GT team, the factory team. They're all being run as customer cars. So that's my only thought as to why they didn't pull Michelle out of the car. But yeah, that was surprising to me. Because Michelle was kind of in my head as the backup. Okay, she's already doing the race. She's, obviously quite good in a 911. She's on Porsche's payroll. So that was kind of my thought there. But obviously that did not happen, and I think Fred's a phenomenal driver. So
Yeah. I'm very excited, but I will admit, when Fred was announced, I was like, his name hadn't even like crossed my mind
no,
of like possible people.
nope, not at all. Like, not in the slightest. That was very surprising to me.
Yeah, but excited. I'm excited for this weekend. Lots of racing, lots of Porsche drivers. So if you're a Porsche fan, you've got a lot of people to watch. There's also like a Porsche, I think it's a bronze entry for Spa that still hasn't even announced its full lineup. So,
Yeah.
you
I
know,
have a feeling that car's not entering.
that's
If you
what
don't
I'm
have a
thinking.
lineup announced and, the race is in a couple days,
Yeah.
I'm assuming that car is not entering. But
Yeah.
who knows? We will wait and
Who
see.
knows?
I'm not going to see probably any of Spa. All five of my five favorite sports car drivers will be at Watkins Glen, where I will be. So, yeah. I don't have quite as much incentive to like. So last year, Nürburgring 24 Hours was on at the same time when I was at Road America for the IndyCar race. My favorite driver was in Germany racing, so I sure as heck stayed up all night watching. I don't have as much incentive to stay up all night watching Spa. Like, I can wake up and catch up on what I missed, and I can kind of keep up on what's going on, but I'm not gonna be like, I was physically at Road America, at the IndyCar race, watching Nürburgring 24 Hours on my phone. I will not be doing that with Spa.
Yeah.
Nothing against the fantastic drivers doing Spa, nothing against the Spa 24 Hours, but, yeah, all five of my top five sports car drivers are going to be at Watkins, so they take priority. That's how
I
having
will
favorites
say,
works.
yes, I don't think it's really a shock that I'm for this weekend when it comes to what I'll be watching, prioritizing Spa. Where Matt Campbell is racing, I will prioritize. Also, where Jam's racing, I will prioritize. And they're both racing Spa, so that will be the main broadcast that I watch.
Yeah, I actually don't know how much. Like, I think that IndyCar qualifying is. Or, sorry, IMSA qualifying is maybe right at the beginning of when Spa is, but I
Yeah,
don't
there's
think that
not
the
much.
IMSA race finishes. Hold on, I have the calendar or the schedules. I
If
can
I
figure
remember
this
from
out.
looking at them, there wasn't much overlap,
Yeah.
which is good.
Let's see. Spa. When is Saturday? Yeah, so Spa starts at 9:30 Central Time, and qualifying for Watkins is at 2:40 Central Time. And then the race at Watkins isn't until 11:10 Central Time, so like you'll miss qualifying, but you won't miss the race.
Yeah.
So like you can watch all of Spa and all of Watkins on TV.
Exactly.
It's other sessions that clash, the non-race sessions that clash. So that's fine. That's all well and good.
That's all well and good. I just usually watch as many of sessions I can for IMSA, but
Yeah.
I have priorities this weekend. So now we're gonna move over to IndyCar, and I feel like at least from the side of social media I was on, but also even on like the broadcast itself, the big talk was like the hybrid. Specifically the supply of the hybrid units, because it basically was revealed that the series believes they're going to have a shortage of the hybrid units. So, in order to prevent that, they're reducing the power output for the rest of the season by various amounts at different races in hopes of preventing a supply issue.
Yeah,
And
so if hybrid failures continue at the rate that they've been going on this season, um, there will not be enough of these hybrid
yeah,
units to finish the season. And I don't know what happens at that point. Do they just call the season? Like, if cars can't enter because there are no more hybrids, like, do they just call the season right then?
yeah,
Or do they say, hey, sorry, Ed Carpenter Racing, you don't in fact get to enter your car, and you're without a doubt going to fall down out of the leader circle standings because we have run into a supply failure. Like, that's IndyCar's fault. That is not the fault of these teams. That's not like, oh, we have our own bespoke dampers that we use and we have failed to produce enough of them because they're having a failure every third race. We can't enter this car because we don't have a damper that like will pass tech. Like, that is on the team. This is on IndyCar. IndyCar has screwed up in not having enough of their spec parts. And then now there's a concern because of the way that the engines are tuned to utilize these hybrids, that now there's going to be more engine failures. And, they already run pretty close on the season with numbers of
yeah.
engines. So again, like, are we going to see cars not being able to contest the whole season due to a failure on IndyCar's part, and then in my opinion, pretty poor solution to the problem? I get it. They can't just yank the hybrids out of the cars right now, but if this isn't corrected, they might have to yank the hybrids out of the cars for next year.
Yep. Especially because, okay, so another part with them reducing the power output was IndyCar said, oh, with us reducing the power input of the hybrid, this is going to get rid of the issue of the cars just completely shutting down if they have a hybrid failure. That was a lie, because this race, Christian Rasmussen's car completely shut down because of a hybrid issue. So,
and that's the thing, is like the car always is going to shut down if there's a hybrid issue, because the hybrid is an integral part of the system. They can't, if they can make it so the car can bypass the hybrid, then make the car completely bypass the hybrid and yank the hybrid out and put some ballast in there and let them run the rest of the season like that. Like, if they can genuinely just bypass the hybrid, because I was under the impression that they couldn't actually bypass the hybrid.
That's what I thought, and then they put out this whole statement of because of the way they're changing things with the hybrid that it was going to prevent this issue, but then it still had the issue, so I was like, I am now confused.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean, they gotta do something, because this is, I mean, realistically, the season's wrapped up anyways. Like, Alex Palou is insanely far ahead. Like, they could end the season right now and it's not going to change the outcome. The thing that it is going to change is the leader circle stuff.
Yes.
Who are those 3 cars that are not going to get that $1 million at the end of the year? And that is going to come down to a lot of these issues. Those are generally the smaller teams that are more likely to have these sort of issues. So that'll be kind of a really, really interesting thing to watch.
Yes, definitely. And then this race itself, at least for me, because I'm a Christian Lundgaard fan, was an exciting race. But I think anytime you have somebody go from literally being last on the first lap to winning the race, it's pretty exciting. Especially, your lap 1 have damage, have to come in to fix your damage, and then you win the race. So that was cool to see.
Yeah, and I mean, again, a parts failure, absolute. Like, Christian was flying, he was not going to catch Marcus. Like, he might have caught him, but he was not going to catch him and pass him. Marcus had, I think, 3 times the amount of push to pass that Christian did when Christian overtook Malukas for P2. So I don't think that Christian was going to be able to pass Marcus for that win, but Marcus had an engine failure, and that's racing, you know?
Yep. And then there was a big announcement also that came out, and that was that Jesse Love is signing with the Wood Brothers for 2027, which just, I think Ford really wants me to be a Ford fan, because
Yeah,
now they're trying
Wood
to get me to
Brothers
be a
are
fan in NASCAR.
yeah, Wood Brothers are basically Penske's like junior team in NASCAR. Um, the car is basically run as a Penske car, but it is just the Wood Brothers. So that is definitely an interesting situation. I think that people definitely had other names in mind for that car, but and then I don't love Jesse's mindset going into next year. He basically said, I'm going to be better prepared than Connor was, so I'm not going to have the issues Connor's having. And it's like, that's with how different we obviously can see the cars are. It almost makes you think, is there a reason to do a a national level series, to do whatever O'Reilly, Xfinity, whatever it's going to be called in any given year? Is there a reason to do multiple years in that series? Or, do you do late models? Do you do trucks? Do you do ARCA? And then maybe do one season in, O'Reilly and move up if a team wants you. Because
SVG flat out said himself he felt even doing the 1 year of at the time Xfinity series that he did was a waste. Like he should have just gone straight into Cup and just started learning because of how far off the Xfinity car is from the Cup car.
Right. And yeah, SVG is also like a massive outlier because he's a champion car racer. But yeah, I don't think that anything he learned in Xfinity on ovals has helped him at all in Cup. Like, I don't think he learned anything on ovals in Xfinity. So, it's just, I think we're going to see more and more people doing less and less Xfinity. And again, Connor did very minimal Xfinity. So that's, good. But I don't think that Jesse's extra time, doing the O'Reilly season this year is going to help him at all.
Also,
I think Wood Brothers have a better car than Trackhouse has. That's going to help him.
Yes. But another thing I think also I thought of when it specifically came to Jesse's situation compared to Connor's. Connor at least stayed same manufacturer.
Yeah.
Jesse's jumping manufacturers.
Which I still don't know how big of a deal that is with just you as a driver, right? Yes, if you're trying to bring your crew chief with you, that would be massive. It would be nearly impossible. If you're trying to bring your head mechanic with you, that would be truly impossible. But as a driver, I mean, I think they're a lot more plug and play. I really do think that you could switch any of these drivers into a different manufacturer and it's not going to be a big deal.
I just think, though, if you're looking at their two situations, Jesse does have more things that are changing than Connor did. So there's going to be more, I almost feel like, for him to learn, despite having more experience in Xfinity. Yeah. And really, we've seen that Xfinity doesn't, doing super well in Xfinity or not doing so great in Xfinity doesn't really translate because of how far off the cars are from each other. And really just how much the team you're on really impacts you. If you're on a back marker team, but you were on a front marker team in Xfinity, that's going to be a difference. It's just, there's so many variables, and so it almost felt like Jesse's not thinking of all the variables that are in play that are why
I
Connor
just
is
think he's drinking
struggling.
his own Kool-Aid. He won
Yep.
the championship last year, and now he thinks he's the best thing ever. And I'm sorry, dude, but you won the championship on a messed up system. Connor Zilic was the best driver last year, and you won on a stupid winner takes all playoff system that nobody thinks is legitimate. Like, you don't get to go around saying I'm better than Connor Zilic now. Like, yes, if he does better than Connor, it's because the team he's on is actually competent. That's really, to me, what it comes down to. And like, or it's going to be like at Coronado, where Trackhouse had, again, the worst luck in the universe. You know, like, that's,
Also,
you can't help luck. I mean, Coronado was absolute crazy chaos.
Coronado also really shows the argument of like, Xfinity doesn't mean much. Corey Heim won. Corey Heim really just did most of his progression in truck series.
In trucks. And that's kind of what I was thinking about when I was saying that, is like, Corey Heim is a cup winner. You know, Connor Zilic isn't. Corey Heim, yes, has done some, you know, part-time O'Reilly stuff, but he's a trucks guy that made a very quick jump for this year to doing a part-time cup schedule, and he just won a race. Like, maybe we need to look at that and think that, you know, I don't know, maybe that's a progression to look at.
Coronado was chaos. There's no other way to put it. If you watched the race, you know, but if you didn't, the barriers were really a problem, not just for Cup race, but for every race at Coronado. And it really impacted the races and how they were run because of how long the cautions had to be, or the cautions ended up turning into reds because of how long it was taking to repair barriers that were hit.
I think people look at safer barriers and their use as for safety purposes, right? They disperse the energy, they make it safer for the driver. What they also do in dispersing that energy is not damage the car as much. When you're going directly into a concrete jersey barrier, you're going to tear the car up. When you go into a safer barrier, you're not really going to tear the car up, and you can probably get it into the pits, and they can hit it with a hammer and throw some tape on it, and you can get back out there. When you go directly into a concrete barrier, you can't really do that. And I get it, like, the speeds were so slow that there wasn't a safety issue with having a concrete barrier, but there was a competition issue with having concrete barriers everywhere. Especially, the attrition in these races with the concrete barriers was insane.
Especially because for most of the crashes, it was the same barrier. And a lot of the times it was the guys just like, they came over the radio and the vision in that area was so off. They couldn't see like everything turning in to that part of the track. So that was just causing a big issue. And so that barrier just kept constantly getting hit.
Yeah. And I think the biggest story from Coronado was probably the guy that climbed the fence. But the second biggest story was probably the red flag, manhole cover, laps back chaos.
Yeah. Corey Day got the manhole cover just in his car. And, you know, obviously had to repair that. And so that brought out a red flag, and NASCAR did end up letting Corey and his team work under red to repair the car. And then he got all 4 laps back that he had lost under caution because NASCAR determined he was able to do all that since this was something that was their fault. They hadn't sealed the manhole properly, and that led to the damage of his car.
Yeah. and then, like I said, the fan climbing over the fence during the red flag to talk to Sheldon Creed was possibly the craziest thing on a crazy weekend. I, I assume that guy's gonna get in a lot of trouble, but I don't know. It was absolutely bizarre, though.
Obviously, don't do this at any track, okay? But of all tracks to pick to do it at, doing it at the one where the military is involved and is part of the security makes it even worse of a decision.
Yeah, crazy decision. And then I guess more craziness, different series. In MotoGP, Marco Bezzecchi assaulted a marshal
Yeah.
who was trying to pick his bike back up after he crashed. He got banned from the remainder of the Czech GP as a result. It was during the sprint race. But, like, marshals are there to keep drivers, riders safe, and they're volunteers. Like, marshals are not paid employees. They're not, making a crazy amount of money. Like, this guy was just doing his job, picking the bike up, and Bez pushed him out of the way and then slapped him. And to me, that should be a lot more than a one race weekend ban. Like, it doesn't send a serious enough message to just ban him for one race.
Yeah. And I get that, like, later on also there was video and he went and apologized to the marshal. And, like, good for him for eventually apologizing. But in general, don't punch or slap people, and it should be more than what he got for doing so.
I agree. And Bez probably needs to listen to this, but fans need to listen to this.
Yeah.
One of my friends posted on Twitter that people need to learn to cope with their big feelings. And that's, like, so true.
Yep.
It's just race cars, guys. Like, this is, if, I don't know how people exist in their daily lives if they're so incapable of coping with their driver crashing out of a race. Like, yes, I joke about Kevin crashing, but it's not impacting my life. I'm not hoping that, another driver dies because they get in, a crash with somebody. Wishing death on people is never okay. It's never a joke. Like, because someone spun your driver in a NASCAR race, because somebody crashed into your driver in an IndyCar race, like, caused a contact that, got someone penalized. Like, we should never be out there or accepting of people who are out there wishing death on people. That's insane. It needs to be called out. It is just race cars. This is, like, it's a sport. We watch it because we like it. If it's that important to your mental health, take the rest of the season off.
Yep.
Disconnect. Find something else. You cannot be letting race cars impact your mental health this much. And I'm saying this as somebody who is going to every race in a series. Race cars are a huge part of my life, and I don't let it impact my mental health this much. You gotta learn to cope with your big feelings. I love that quote.
Yeah. Something also, too, there's, like, I guess people are calling it a meme of being like, so my driver lost, this is, like, homophobic against me, but there's then people not doing that and just flat out being like, this result was homophobic because this person won. And it's not a person who is known to be homophobic or transphobic. And at the end of the day, you are actually harming that driver by falsely putting a label on them of something that they aren't. So, like,
people need to remember that words have meanings.
Yes, if you don't know something, don't go around spreading something because you think it's a funny haha joke when it's something that can, like, severely actually impact someone's career. And a lot of people are like, well, my whole like profile is that I'm a fan of this person and making these kinds of jokes. People don't go looking at the rest of your profile to see if this is something you regularly joke about. They see something and they're going to take it as fact because that's just how the internet works. And also, homophobia isn't a joke. Don't be joking that people are homophobic if they aren't homophobic. The only time you should ever be putting that label on someone is when you know definitively that they are homophobic.
I mean, people are just out here acting like, and I get it, like, people use Twitter or Instagram as a diary, and that's fine, but make your account private if you're going to do that. If your account is designed for you and your 6 friends to see, make your account private and have you and your 6 friends on your account. And then you can wish that Bubba Wallace dies all you want. You can call Christian Lundgaard homophobic all you want, because no one's going to see it. But when you are putting those sort of words out in the world, like McLaren said it this week.
Yes.
Mental health matters. These drivers, these team members, see what we say online, and they are people too. We just need to remember everyone online are all people just like us. So if you wouldn't want stuff said to you, you wouldn't want death wished on yourself, don't wish death on anyone else.
And also, if you're going to use the excuse of, well, I only have 10, 25, 30 followers, anything can blow up and become a hit tweet. Remember that just because you have a small follower account doesn't mean your tweet could blow into massive proportions and get widespread and have severe impacts. You need to understand that if you want it to just be seen by those few people, make your account private, because there's always a chance more than those people are going to see it. Outro. Thanks for listening. You can find us on Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram at Orange Flag Pod. Nicole is at Nicole on Racing. Austin is at Austin Trackside, and Aries is at Aries _Alpenglow.
Stay orange.